So, 10 Uhr, wir beginnen. Herzlich willkommen zum Webinar von Xanterra und American Airlines. Mein Name ist Moni Brummer. Ich darf heute für den Christian übernehmen, der die Webinare normalerweise leitet. Aber für diejenigen, die ihn vermissen, er ist trotzdem mit drin und wird sich bestimmt auch hier und da mal mit einschalten. Auch mit dabei natürlich unsere beiden Partner, die Janine Wolski von Xanterra. Hi Janine.
Hi, morgen.
Und einmal der Rick Mobach, direkt aus Amsterdam mit dazu geschalten, von American Airlines. Hi, Rick.
Hi.
I'm going to switch to English now because Rick is going to hold his presentation in English. Rick, somehow we'll have to make our way to those lodges, and why not just fly there with American Airlines? I'm excited to learn more about it, and it's your stage.
Alrighty. Thank you, Moni, and thank you, Janine, for your presentation. Welcome, everybody. And yes, I will do it in English because I guess if I do it in German, I may understand it, but you probably won't. So, yeah, I think it's better we do this in English. Welcome on behalf of American Airlines. And I just want to take you through the agenda. Some of the stuff I'd like to touch upon today. Obviously, some introduction, some product, and some more information on Dallas and Charlotte Airport. And I promise you, I'm not gonna, say everything about seats and seat pitches and pictures of planes and everything. I try to make this a bit interactive. Talk a little bit about sustainability. Talk a little bit about NDC and the tools and support that you have at your disposal. Having said that, I think I would like to go back a little bit in time. American Airlines is back again with Visit USA, and we're really happy about that in Germany. As you're probably aware, we had a reorg in 2023, and we kind of opted for a new business model. And that business model actually meant that our partner, British Airways, is representing us in Europe. And that meant that most of the legacy offices were closed, and BA is basically your point of contact for anything regarding American Airlines. We're 2 years down the road now. It's actually, what was it? 2 days and 2 years ago. So yeah, that model works. We like it, and we definitely like to hear your feedback about it. If you have questions about American, how things are going, when they're very specific on American Airlines, and particularly NDC, for instance, or sustainability, we will be at your disposal. And at the end of the presentation, I will share some contact details for that. But other than that, it's British Airways. What's new at American? I'd just like to show you a little bit of our fleet renewal. We will be having the Dreamliner 900 and the A321XLR aircrafts coming into our fleet by the end of this year, early next year. And that's kind of important because it touches on sustainability. It also touches on, particularly with the 321, on Europe. We will have more options to fly to more places in Europe that are within the range of this new aircraft. So we're quite excited to have that. The 321 will first operate domestically in the States, but will ultimately make its way to Europe. What you see on the left side is our business class. And for those of you who were at the ITB, that was the picture we put there. And we actually wanted to show the suites that we have in business class, very much like British Airways. And I think that's a good thing across our alliance, that the products are very similar. And you, of course, have the local flavor of every national carrier, but the product itself is very, very similar across our joint venture. And that's important because obviously you know that everything else is combinable: fares, routes, etc., between Iberia, British Airways, American, and Finnair. A little bit about the fleet, and again, I promised you not to talk too much about it, but there's actually one little sentence at the under the main line fleet facts, a little sentence saying the youngest and simplest fleet amongst U.S. network carriers. And what that means is that American Airlines indeed operates the youngest fleet of all U.S. network carriers. And that's good for sustainability, but it's also good for your passengers. It's good for their experience. The Wi-Fi product on board are really good, and the overall experience of our flight is really, really good. And I think that's what new aircrafts set apart from the older generation. To give you an idea, American Airlines during COVID retired all our 767s. We had a whole bunch of them. We retired them and reduced our fleet to basically Boeing 777s and Dreamliners and the Airbus 320 family. And operating a fleet, and particularly in the size of American Airlines, we always like to talk in America about the biggest this and the biggest that, and there are a lot of criteria about the biggest airline. You can do that by aircraft numbers, by the routes that you operate, the passengers that you transport per year, or the countries that you fly to, etc., etc. But by a lot of metrics, American is still the largest airline in the world. To give you an idea, we operate about 6,000 flights per day. And that's a substantial amount of flights per day. If you see that number, you know it's really important to operate it with a manageable fleet. And I think that's one of the key things that we touched upon, simplifying the product, and that will also help regarding efficiency, regarding sustainability, etc. What do we operate? I'm sure you are aware of what we operate out of Germany. We operate that with a Dreamliner and a 777-200. And I just listed for you the ID of the numbers of seats in business class in the different aircrafts. They're obviously lie flat nowadays. Premium economy. I think premium economy is of course, sort of the magic word since a couple of years, but it's actually British Airways that started that many years ago already. So American Airlines and British Airways have that premium economy product for decades, actually, almost. And I would say it's a very strong point, particularly after COVID. We have leisure travelers that do want to spend that extra a bit of money to travel in premium economy, and we have business travelers that go like, well, I mean, okay, I'm Dutch, so probably that's not the best example, being known for being stingy. But yes, you don't pay a business class fare, and you do have a very similar business class experience in premium economy. And then we have the main cabin extra. Main cabin is the word that American uses for economy class, and extra is just the extra leg space. And then we have the main cabin. And as you can see, these two aircrafts are very different in configuration. And that's kind of where we play with aircrafts and the routes that we operate them on, depending on the demand on particular routes. You see the 777, for instance, for a reason in southern Germany. As you all know, there's a lot of automotive industry in the southern part of Germany, and there's also a lot of activity in the Charlotte area on the automotive sector. So that operates more seats in business and premium economy, as well as in main cabin. Now, all these planes operate the same layout in business class, in premium economy, main cabin extra, and main cabin. And I think the picture that you see on the left top of business class is the current business class. And as we are talking, we are replacing them for the new suite concept in business class. This product is the same everywhere. I think what's also good to mention is that American was actually one of the very first carriers to change the overhead bins. As you can see on that picture on the right side with the nice blue lights, you put your bags in there vertically. And that's a big change versus the older aircrafts where you put them horizontal and a lot of space gets wasted. So this is a very efficient way of storing hand luggage, and actually available in the newer planes. I want to touch a bit on the airports that we operate. Out of Germany, we operate to Dallas and Charlotte, and they are two very different airports. Dallas is our #1 hub, and Charlotte is our #2 hub.
There's already a question
Okay.
if American Airlines is planning on bringing back the connection from Philadelphia to Brandenburg.
Very good question. And I have to give this answer in a bit of a more diplomatic way. A network for us is a living thing, and it really depends on the number of aircraft that you have available. The 321 ER may or may not just be able to reach Brandenburg Airport. We do open up a lot of opportunities on the northern part of Europe, and there are indeed destinations and cities that we are looking into right now. And that's not only limited to Berlin. There are other places in the northern parts that could potentially be within range of those new aircrafts. So not a definite yes or no, but it's definitely something that we study with our new planes coming on board. And I told you earlier that we retired to 767s, and we did that for many, many good reasons. The other reason is obviously if you keep them, you will be having more options to play with new routes. If we launch a new route, it will be straight away with a new Dreamliner or a new aircraft with the 321s. So that's quite a heavy burden on a new route. It's a long answer for a simple question, but it's that complicated, to be honest.
Oh, thank you.
Sorry. So yeah, Dallas Airport. It's interesting. Actually, the fun fact is the third point, and that is actually that Dallas Fort Worth is bigger than Manhattan. Just realize it's bigger than Manhattan Island. So the airport itself is huge. It's unbelievable. We operate out of Dallas more than 925 flights per day, just American Airlines. So it's a huge hub for us. It's big, and you can basically fly to anywhere in the world from Dallas, whether it's Australia, whether it's Japan, whether it's Hawaii, whether it's in domestic US. It's a fantastic hub. A good thing to know is what American Airlines offers in Dallas is what we call eye-to-eye. Nothing to do with your eyes, but it's international to international. And what that means is if you fly out of Frankfurt, for instance, to Dallas, and you fly onwards to Mexico, you do not have to collect your luggage. And that's unique in the US because you always have to pick up your luggage at the point of entry. So your luggage gets tagged through to Mexico, in this case, Cancun, for instance. So it's a unique product that Dallas and Miami offer, but since there are no direct flights to Miami out of Germany, it's not relevant. But for Dallas, it is important. And it's a huge advantage for travelers in the terms of transit time. Furthermore, these huge terminals, A up to E, are all interconnected with a rail system. And so actually, if you clients by chance, check in at terminal A, but they should be in terminal E, it's no big deal. You just take the train after there's clearing customs and you just go to terminal E. Other than that, what's important to know about Dallas, it is very decentralized. It's huge, it's a big airport, but your luggage will always arrive almost within 100 meters away from where the gate is that the plane arrives on. So it's really a very efficient place in spite of the size. And here we have kind of the opposite. Here we have Charlotte in North Carolina. We operate about 600, close to 700 flights per day out of Charlotte, and that's a single terminal concept. So unlike the huge airport in Dallas, this is more manageable. You still have about 5 gates. American operates almost all of them, but it's smaller. It's obviously smaller than the size of Dallas. So it's a very good airport to connect, particularly to the Caribbean, where American is by far #1 airline in terms of destinations served and frequency. So a good product to experience the southern part of the US, but also to connect to the mid-states, for instance. And I would say if you see the amount of flights that we operate domestically within the US, it gives you actually the opportunity to go anywhere, whether you want to go to Shanine's Canyons or whether you want to go to New York. If you do a round trip or your clients do a round trip in America with some different points where they want to see places, it's definitely very often American Airlines that is able to take you there. So those combinability within the United States really adds to the flexibility for your customers. We already spoke a little bit on sustainability, and I do want to mention one thing, and I think what is important is that we acknowledge the uncertainty of that. Everybody has statements, we do too, 2050 to have zero net emission, but it's also a very uncertain path. Nobody knows where that's going to end, nobody knows where it's going to be. But there's definitely a lot of effort made, and the most important effort, and you can actually see that on the light and dark blue part of the, you call it the wave in the diagram, that is sustainable aviation fuel and airspace modernization. So better and newer and younger aircrafts in combination with sustainable aviation fuel will make a big difference over time. The bottom curve is the timeline, with on the right bottom 2015, where we want to be. And as you can see, flight operations and efficiency, yes, it plays a role, but by far, and it's kind of normal compared to the work that we do. I mean, we fly as an airline, so obviously it's aircrafts and fuel that will drive most of the changes, and we're quite on our way. You'll see on the left side, this part is growing. One fun fact to mention is that American Airlines was the first carrier to actually offer to our corporate clients the ability to buy sustainable aviation fuel. So if they wanted to offset their CO2 emission, they could upfront buy a certain amount of sustainable aviation fuel and set it off against their travel, which is a really popular product nowadays domestically. And I think more than anything, it's the Dow Jones that kind of rewarded us for that, and that's an independent body that recognized that American Airlines, actually one of only 2 carriers that managed to get into that Dow Jones Sustainability Index of our efforts to get into a zero emission situation in 2050. So yes, it plays a big role in what we do. It plays a big role in what type of aircrafts we fly, where we fly. So yes, something that American takes very, very closely. I want to talk a little bit about NDC, our subject on distribution of content. And there's a lot going on in the NDC world. It was actually American Airlines, I think, what was it? About 10 years ago or even more, that had started with the direct connect, as it was called those days, connection opportunities for agencies, and a lot has happened ever since. There was initially the question, why would you connect to NDC, and why do we need NDC in the first place? The GDS world works fine. We've been using that, and it's actually American as well, who started that back in the days, actually in the 50s with Sabre, that used to be from American Airlines. It works fine, so why changing it? The reason I think why we need to change it is to have a more modern platform that is able to serve passengers the way they want to be served, the way they do their online purchasing at Amazon, for instance. Same thing here. If they want to buy something with an aircraft, with an airline, they want to know, can I buy my bag? Can I buy my Wi-Fi? Can I do, meals, etc., etc. And a lot of these things are possible in NDC and not in EDIFACT at this moment. So when we started that many years ago, it was kind of a, bumpy ride. And over time, we got actually more people on board. And when I say more people, I also mean the GDSs. And I'm very happy to say right now that effective actually already last year, American offered NDC connections through all the GDS systems. So any GDS system that you want to connect through, they will have a solution for American Airlines. You can connect to American Airlines NDC on different ways. What we see very often in larger companies, and particularly online travel agencies, is a direct connect. You connect directly with your API into American Airlines, and you enjoy that particular content. And again, the volume and your client base need to justify that. Then we have the possibility, that's a second option, of going through an aggregator, very commonly used. Very often used by larger agencies that do want to make the investment in back office systems, etc. And on our website, and I'll share that with you in a bit, We have all the listed and approved aggregators that we work with. And last, potentially in Europe, the most effective way to connect to American is through a GDS. And we see a lot of them right now offering those opportunities, and that helps. So why would you connect nowadays? American, unlike other carriers, does not differentiate costs. For instance, we do not impose charges on particular channels or particular fee structures, but we do differentiate a little bit of our content. Not so much out of Europe. In fact, currently not at all out of Europe, but we do in the United States. Our lowest fares, and which is our basic economy, are only available in NDC and direct channels. So if your clients are looking for a really attractive fare, actually the lowest fare on the market, they would need NDC within the US. Is that going to change in the future? Maybe, maybe not. I think time will tell. Our partners, British Airways and Iberia, have started a little bit with differentiating various options, and we probably will follow them. But at the moment, there is no substantial differentiation out of Europe. Where to find more info on NDC? NDC, I will share it with you in a bit. The next slide has some of the contact details for American NDC, which is actually quite straightforward, particularly if you go through the GDS option. But even the aggregator option is very straightforward. I already touched a little bit on the last point, our policy and our content differentiation versus the old systems, in the sense of EDIFACT. I call it old because GDS is new. It's not by no means reflecting to the fact that it should be an old system, in the sense that technology is old. We do, like I said, we do differentiate on the content in the United States, not so much out of Europe at this point in time. So for now, connecting to AA NDC will be a very good thing to do, particularly to be future-proof. We see out of Germany a relatively low adoption rate on NDC, which is understandable. But in order to be prepared for the future and for potential content differentiation, etc., it may be good just to have a look around and see what kind of option would suit your company the best, because there is no solution that fits everybody. No questions on NDC?
No, not so far.
Normally that's the subject there we get a lot of questions on. That's fine. We will have some time after the presentation. And I do want to point this out. I already mentioned at the beginning of the presentation that British Airways will represent American Airlines. And they do that, and they do a great job in that. And they will send you through the particular channels within American Airlines if necessary. But there's also stuff available for you. There is a European support email address, which is right there, which you can always contact. It's based in the UK. And there is SalesLink. And for those of you that are not familiar with it, SalesLink is our 24/7 online waiver and favor tool. So the moment you register for SalesLink, you can do a lot of waivers and favors yourself. You don't need to call us. You don't need to ask for approval. If it's possible to do it in SalesLink, it's allowed, and you don't need to do anything else. That's really cool. The adoption rate of that is really picking up a lot, simply because you have the tools at your own fingertips. You don't have to call again. You can do it yourself. ExploreAmerican.com, the last one, that's our website, which is really handy for all the stuff I talked about earlier. I spoke about sustainability. You'll find everything there on sustainability. I spoke about NDC. You'll find anything on NDC, including approved aggregators and our path forward on ExploreAmerican.com. So there's a lot of stuff there that you can find.
There was one question about the support email address. Does sales.germany@aa.com still exist?
No.
No. Okay.
No, that doesn't exist anymore. It's European.support@aa.com.
Okay,
so
that's
yes,
a new one.
Yeah, that's a new one. That's what part of the changes that we pushed through. The local European support emails have disappeared, and this is the new one.
Okay. And then there was one more question. Why does no eco-checked bag fare for domestic US flights exist?
Can you repeat that again? Sorry.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, I think
Why.
I think the question is probably about pre-bag payment.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, that could be. That's a question I get very often.
Mhm.
Why that's not possible in the US? There's a very good reason for that, and that is because people change their mind all the time. And particularly in the US, they pay for a bag, they do it, and then they come at the airport and, oh yeah, well, I didn't need it back. Can I get my money back? Not on auxiliaries. So there's a whole discussion then what you get with the customer if they want a refund on something that as an auxiliary being non-refundable, they won't get their money back. So we basically choose for the policy, and it's intentionally done to let people pay for their bags exactly what they have and what they bring to the airport, because there's a difference in what they think they might bring to the airport and what they actually bring to the airport.
And you will always have to pay on site at the airport, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, that may change. That may change in the future, depending a little bit on the overall acceptance of NDC, because we have more technical possibilities with NDC, but it needs to be broader accepted and used within the industry worldwide.
And just for the record, this is for domestic flights only. So
Correct.
It's not for international flights. So not that there's any panic breaking out right now. So it's just for domestic flights.
It's just for domestic, yes. Those fares are specifically for domestic. Everything that we sell out of Germany includes a bag, so you're good.
All right.
Okay. Just checking. We are a little bit over time, but there's still some questions. One of the question was if you can write in German when contacting the European support email, or is it English only?
We always prefer English, particularly if we have to scale it up. You know, if we need more support within the company. But we do have German-speaking people in. Actually, it's based in Liverpool, including French desk, etc., etc. So we do have people that speak the languages, but it always helps to communicate in English.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And here's one more question: if it's possible to check in with the visum online. Yeah, is online checking with visum possible or not?
Yeah, online check-in is possible.
Yeah.
If you have your ESTA arranged, you can definitely check in online.
Yeah.
No, it's a good question, because you'll be surprised how many people, and I've seen that with my own eyes, mix up the zero with the letter O, and then just as an example, and in some passport nowadays they make them smaller, the letters and the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, people make those mistakes, and then they think, oh, but I did it and it was all good, and then they check in and there comes an error, and that's very often linked to those things.
Another possibility is that person has the 4Xs on their ticket, so that there will be a special security check. Because I had that like 2 years ago or so. So I couldn't check in online as well, because I was marked for the special security check just randomly. So maybe that's the case as well.
True. That's the case. You have those. You're absolutely right. You have the random security checks, what they do for check-in. That's true. But also, for instance, if you've been to Cuba before, you may have issues with that. Yeah. And that's
so. But for the online check-in itself, it's not a difference if it's ESTA or Visa. So it should work.
Yes, absolutely. And if it doesn't work, it wouldn't work at the airport either.
Mm-hmm.
And the good thing is when your clients do that, what I always advise them, but I guess you probably do the same, is to become a member of the frequent flyer club of the airline that you're flying with. It's free to download the app. Our app is extremely advanced. And when I say extremely advanced, it has, for instance, an auto rebooking and auto protection tool behind it. What that means is if your flight is canceled for whatever reason, the system will automatically rebook you. It gives a pop-up saying, this flight is canceled. Do you want to accept this or that alternative? You click yes and you're rebooked. So the recovery is really quick, and it's basically for passengers an extremely pleasant experience with an unpleasant experience, because they don't have to queue up at a desk at the airport. They don't have to call the travel agent. It's done automatically. So becoming a member, but it goes for any carrier. If you fly with a carrier, it always makes sense to be up to date with your stuff and download the app.
Okay, thank you. Okay, one last question.
Sure.
What are the future plans for American Airlines preferred agencies? In 2024, there was a big change that certain thresholds need to be met, but was later removed again.
Yeah, good question. And when I said we did a reorg in 2023, I told you the part about Europe. I did not touch about the United States, and what you're saying there about the preferred agency. That was part of the changes that we implemented in the US, along with a lot of other changes. And some of that were good and some of that were not so good. The preferred agency part was not so good. And that was actually the turnaround point at American Airlines, where we said we're going into a different direction. We have a complete new management right now in the US and are actually sailing a different course right now. So that's off the table, and it won't come back either. And that's the very same thing for support desks, for participation in corporate contracts, and for being able to assist you wherever you need assistance for. And I think we have set that up with these 3 systems.
Okay. Thank you. I think that was it for the questions so far. Thank you, Rick, for the insights. I'm going to switch back to German again. Wie angekündigt werden wir dann auch nochmal Follow-up-E-Mails werdet ihr nochmal Follow-up-E-Mails von den einzelnen Partnern bekommen. Das sind dann auch nochmal die Kontaktdaten mit drin. Das heißt, wenn da noch Fragen aufkommen, dann gerne einfach direkt an die Partner schreiben. Danke auch nochmal für die Geduld, auch wenn wir jetzt ein bisschen überzogen haben. Ich habe nur noch mal ganz kurz ein paar Infos wegen den nächsten Webinaren, die anstehen. Wir haben am 15. April ein Missouri-Special mit Missouri, St. Louis und Visit Kansas City. 22. Mai dann ein Texas-Special mit Visit Austin, Visit Lubbock und Fredericksburg. Und am 2. Juli haben wir dann auch nochmal Disney und JetBlue. Anmeldung dann auch über die Website. Genau, kommt aber auch nochmal mit ins Follow-up. Dann vielen, vielen Dank für die Aufmerksamkeit. Danke Janine und danke Rick für die Zeit und für die Präsentation. Genau.
Anytime.
Yeah, thank you so much for making it possible.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Then I'm going to close this webinar. Goodbye to everyone.
Bye-bye.